For those who don't know me, my name is Christy. I am a Health at Every Size yoga and movement educator, as well as a healthy body image advocate. So today I'm really excited because I'm going to be showing you 3 different ways that we can use movement to find appreciation and acceptance for the body that we're in right now. So I find that when we create a very healthy relationship towards exercise and movement, we can use that to become embodied and find appreciation for what it is that our body does for us on a regular basis. So I'm going to walk you through 3 different of my favorite exercises that are a nice mix of dynamic as well as breath awareness and passive relaxation. So the first one, we're going to get started. So I have a couple things with me here. You might want to have a yoga mat. I have a rolled up blanket. We're going to be using that for 2 of the different exercises. I have a pillow. I have a stool, which is going to be option for regressive squatting, and a 15-pound kettlebell. Now, if you don't have any weights in your house, that's totally fine. Grab something that feels relatively heavy. Maybe it's a really big book, or maybe it's a set of soup cans or a wine bottle or whatever it is that you have handy. That's just going to add a little bit of weight and load to the movement that we're going to do. Okay, so the first movement that I get people to do is pretty simple. It's a little crazy, but this is great because it really gets the body feeling energized, and it's a great way to not only get rid of stress from the body, but also prevent stress from coming into the body. So this is something I do sometimes as a warm-up before a yoga practice or a workout, or sometimes if I'm just feeling like I have all this kind of pent-up stress and energy that I want to get rid of. So all you're going to do is start to bounce. So it's pretty simple. You can mimic a boxer shuffle. You can mimic simulating skip rope. You can throw your hands up in the air. So it's pretty much just freestyle bouncing. And if you're not into actually leaving the ground, you can keep the balls of your feet on the ground and still bounce. So your heels are just going up and down. So what I usually do for this is I set a timer for about 5 to 7 minutes, and I just kind of move around and take up space. So this is a great dynamic warm-up before going into any sort of movement practice, or if you're just looking for a burst of energy midday. What I do recommend is that you try doing this and breathing in and out of your nose to help regulate the nervous system. Obviously for me right now, I'm taking breaths out of my mouth because I'm speaking to you, but going at a nostrils breath pace can really help to kind of regulate things as we heat up. So this is something you can do, again, maybe 3 minutes. Maybe if you're feeling stressed or anxious at work and you need to stop and just get a boost of energy. And then after, I want you to close your eyes and just kind of take up space where you are and notice how your body feels after the exercise. And I find that's a great way to just get rid of that stress out of the body. Okay, the second movement that we're going to practice is a weighted squat. So I find strength training and any kind of strengthening movements to be very empowering. I find since I've been starting to strength train regularly, it's given me more confidence. And it's given me confidence in the way that I move through the world. So I'm able to do the things that I want to do with more strength and with less pain. And I feel by creating strength, we almost, mitigate injury as best as we can, so that we can go and take more chances outside of in our daily lives, with having less fear of being hurt, etc. So I love lifting weights. I find it very powerful. So I'm going to show you a different variations of a squat, because everybody's alignment for squatting is different. Everyone's bodies are different. We want to try to make this practice as accessible as possible to all different bodies and all different body sizes. And a couple of these variations were actually taught to me by one of my favorite movement educators. Her name is Catherine Bruni-Young, and she talks a lot about how strength can empower us. And she's the creator of Mindful Strength. So if you haven't heard of her, I highly recommend you check her out. So because I have very limited mobility in my ankles, I'm going to use a rolled up blanket underneath of my heels. And this just allows me to get into my squat in the full range of motion, meaning I can go all the way down and up with some elevation through the heels. So for me, I like to have a little bit more external rotation in my hips, and I'm going to hold the kettlebell. And what I want you to do is, when you're squatting in this particular way, so if you are using something underneath the heels, you're going to think of going down in one straight line. So your hips and your ankles start to flex at the same time, and I try to keep my eyes forward, and then you're going to go quicker on the way up. So we go slower on the descend, slower on the down, and then pop back up. I'll do one more. Slow on the way down, trying to go in one straight line. My knees tend to go out a little bit more. Quicker on the way up. And squatting is up to you. You can do as many as 5 to 10 repetitions, 2 to 3 sets. You can go with a timer. Sometimes I set a timer for 20 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest. It's really up to you. Now, if that feels like it's too much to go in that range, we can also practice half squatting. So you're going to hold the kettlebell, and this time you're going to take your hips back. So I'm taking my hips back towards my heels, and I'm probably going to stop about halfway here and then press back up. So if you are somebody that's new to squatting, or you do have some kind of knee thing or ankle thing or whatever it is, maybe this is an option for you, just taking the half squat. I'll go to the side. Feet hips distance apart, maybe wider, whatever you like, and then press back up. So without the rolled up blanket, that's probably as far down as I go. So it does help to have elevated heels. The last option I'm going to show you, if you're new to squatting, is literally just putting a bench underneath of your seat, and you're literally going to sit down. You can have a seat, and then you're going to press back up. And then you're just going to have a seat, and then press back up. So we have lots of different options for strength. And I definitely can't take the credit for that. I've learned a lot from Catherine in the way that she teaches accessible strength and movement. And I really love how she takes this accessible approach to strength training so that people can feel strong and confident in their bodies. So the last exercise I'm going to show you doesn't require a lot of movement, but there's a lot that goes into this in the way that we are going to actually move the diaphragm. So what we're going to do, and this was taught to me by the owner of the studio I teach at. Her name is Isadora, and she's quite brilliant when it comes to body work and yoga and movement. And this was one that she taught me for low back pain, and also as a great way to kind of down-regulate the nervous system in a passive range of motion. So what we're looking for specifically here is more of a passive range of motion in the lower back. And if you don't have back issues, this is still a great restorative movement that you should practice just to relax. So I'm going to use a blanket, or the rolled up blanket, and I'm going to use a pillow underneath of my head. And you're going to lie down. And this I would recommend doing up to 15 minutes. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll set a mindfulness meditation or some kind of relaxing music, and I'll set a timer for 10 to 15 minutes, and I'll just kind of relax. This is great after a strengthening practice, after an energizing workout. Really good stuff. So you're going to come to lie on your back, and you're just going to prop your head up on the pillow. So you want some passive flexion happening in your neck as well as your low back. So that's where the rolled up blanket is going to help assist us get into that passive range of motion. And this is an exercise that Isadora taught me. I've been doing it and I love it, and it's so relaxing. So what you're going to do is just relax the back of your body. So just let all the props do the work. So I know for myself, sometimes I tend to flare through the ribs a little bit, but I just want you to let everything be heavy to the floor. And then from here, we're going to practice some three-dimensional diaphragmic breath. And I like to use external feedback using my hands just to lightly press into my belly. And you're going to focus on breathing into your hands. So essentially low into the belly, the sides of the waist. And essentially we're just letting the back body kind of round and slouch a little bit here. And again, this is something you can do before bed, after a movement practice, especially after a vigorous or strengthening movement practice. It's a nice way to relax and unwind. So there you have it. Those are 3 ways that we can start to find appreciation for our moving bodies. So instead of focusing solely on aesthetics and weight loss and how do I get rid of this and how do I change this, spend some time practicing movement and finding the joy in how movement makes you feel and how it improves the quality of our life. So I thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please contact me if you have any questions or comments. I can't wait to hear from you. And I hope that you love these exercises as